All right, so welcome to our third session here at the Fast Casual Global event, and thank you again for joining in. Make sure and use the chat bubble, whether you're on a mobile device or a PC or a desktop. That's how you're going to be able to interface with me, and happy to answer questions live in the chat, so feel free to ask questions over there. This session is going to be breaking down the virtual and digital brand growth that is happening in the fast casual space. Before I get started too far, I want everybody to go to fastcasualglobal.com. That is our new site for organizing everybody and all companies around the fast casual the fast casual groups, and we're going to do it a couple of ways. One is through our free group on LinkedIn, but also through our membership to get like premium reports. We'll have premium insights, and of course some cool messages and material from me. So let's get moving on this session. A little bit about the forward indicators here on the market. So the first thing is I wanted to kind of go through where the market currently stands and what I think is going to be happening over the next few years to kind of help drive digital and virtual brand growth. If you look at the total restaurant U.S. population, currently it hovers around 221 million active consumers. So the total food occasions per year gives you a max market cap at about 241 billion occasions. And if you look at 2023 and where we see potential growth of the market, especially on food away from restaurant, we think that's going to grow to 58%, even though that is a conservative number that will be interesting to watch. If that does occur, the industry will hit a 1.3 trillion toward the end of 2023, early 2024. 1.3 trillion as a gross. So if you think about 2019, where we had just passed a trillion on the industry in terms of overall, obviously the industry took a major hit, including a number of hundreds of thousands of restaurants that were closed in the COVID year, but we do see some huge opportunity here for operators who are operating in the digital space in a very advanced format. So that's one thing. The other thing to take into consideration here are the aging boomers and millennials, and where the millennials essentially kind of take over the major part of their spending years, and also kind of the approach toward how they're actually interacting with restaurants, being mostly digital. When you look at those forward indicators, it really starts to paint a really great picture for the restaurant industry as it's coming up. And I know there's been some tough times, but we do have a lot of brands that are reporting year-over-year comps, competitive revenues that are comping up. And we do have several brands who are starting to really expand in a massive way on the digital side. Let's jump to the virtual brand and ghost kitchen growth for 2021. And really what this is looking at is the 2021 numbers for fast casual overall and the virtual and ghost kitchen growth opportunities in fast casual. So if you look at operating companies, you know, across the board, first operating companies around 71 in ghost and virtual brands, 21,000 locations or entities, which could be a digital brand operating in someone else's kitchen, like a Wow Bao who's doing a lot of that. Virtual brand frequency is hovering around 3.1 times per month, which is excellent. When you look at the fact that this is just incremental sales, maybe inside what's happening in another restaurant. And then 2021 revenue estimate we think is going to land somewhere around 6.5 billion, which will be up 129% over last year, the 2020 numbers. So this is a very good sign for the fast casual category. If you look on the right-hand side, you'll see the current state of the fast casual market, which is 881 operating companies, meaning brands that we track, 78,000 locations. The top 150 casual top 150 fast casual frequency number is hovering at around 6.3 times per month. That's huge. Obviously, some of that has been fueled by COVID and, you know, what people are doing, because fast casual starts to kind of encroach in on casual dining occasions, and that's lifting the frequencies. The other thing is that 2021, we think fast casual is going to hit somewhere around 56 billion in total revenue. So this is a massive market, as you can kind of see. Let's jump to consumer demographics and kind of look at why this is happening and what you guys are going to be able to do about it. There's a few things here. Gen Z and Gen Y, changing the landscape of technology. Essentially, these particular consumers are really kind of changing how we interface with restaurants as a consumer side and as a restaurateur, you are changing the way that you're actually interfacing with your customer. The other thing that is going to be a big factor is prevailing technology for boomers. Though boomers do struggle with technology to a certain extent, some people still believe that might be kind of a myth, but we believe that it is real. It's a real problem. There is going to have to be a layer of technology to deal with the aging boomer set, especially as technology shifts. So if you think about it, you don't want to leave them behind. So you've got to be able to have a structure in place to be able to deal with the boomers and their technology needs. And then last is that mobile has reformatted the day part. What I simply mean by that is the day parts have kind of been thrown out the window. We've covered that several on many of our episodes on Foodable, whether it's the Barron Report or even Fast Casual Nation. If you haven't had a chance to check out both those podcasts. But we talk about this, that the day part is moving. It's shifting into a variety of extension. Had a nice conversation with Clay Dover, very much on this topic, and he, along with many brand leaders, are seeing this particular phenomenon occur. And we do think it's going to stick around, which simply means that mobile has kind of set the tone of how that interface is going, whether they're ordering at 11 or at 1:30 or 2 o'clock, depending on their work from home status. A lot of things happening here. Now, we've kind of set the table. Here's the market, here's the consumer. Let's go to the drill down of the third party and first party potential opportunity. Next slide is going to be TPD versus DTO. If you look at 2018, your blue column there is third party delivery. Your orange column is direct takeout. And what this is happening, or what this seems to be doing, is that consumers are starting the trend that is trending up in 2021 of more direct takeout than there is third-party takeout. So this, or third-party delivery, this is a big opportunity where operators are really trying to ramp up their technology to deal with this direct takeout, potential first-party delivery, whatever you want to call it. The shift is occurring, and it's going to be interesting to watch as we see kind of what happens with some of the models. If you look at what Sweetgreen is doing in terms of piloting a drive-through, and this is kind of interesting. We'll jump to kind of this piece here on CNBC that was done. What they're essentially doing is they're moving out of the urban markets. They're moving into these other sectors. Now, this could offer some very interesting opportunities, both for access, but also it could kind of help circumvent the possibility of the delivery model. So there's a lot of things happening. Now, the question, whether you believe it as a market trend or see this as a small micro percentage of the market that's going to move to drive-through, because drive-through is very expensive to implement, and obviously real estate becomes a major factor. But the fact that we are seeing fast casual moving into the sector, especially someone like a Sweetgreen, simply tells me that food away from the restaurant is a major, major issue, and it's going to be one that's going to stay with us for quite some time. Let's jump to some forward indicators right here. And this is some data that we've kind of started to glean on of where the market growth is happening, especially on increased frequency for takeout and delivery. In 2019, it was 4.1 for takeout and delivery on an average month. We've seen that skyrocket to almost double at 7.8 occurrences in 2020. We think that's going to completely blow out of the water in 2021 and probably stabilize and maintain for quite some time. Could see as many as 8 occasions to 8.5 occasions per month. So what's happened is we have retrained the consumer. When you retrain a consumer to function with you, Amazon is the big retrainer of our era. They retrained the retail consumer on how to shop. So it is, the model is there. It does show success, and I think the restaurant industry is going to be dealing with that. If you look at the total restaurant and ghost kitchen estimates here that we think are going to come back, this is really kind of the comeback trail for the restaurant industry, starting in 2022, where we get closer to 500,000 restaurants back in operation, down from what was around almost 900,000. We think that's going to take some time to get, and when I say this is being mostly in the limited service sector. 2023, we think that'll continue its growth. 2024, again, another big jump, all the way up to 2026 at 925,000. Now remember that this is not the total eating establishments. This is mostly in the restaurant, so service. A lot of these numbers are going to start to really change up because of the way restaurants are going to classify themselves. So that in itself is going to create a very interesting analysis, because you may be looking at some companies that might be a restaurant today, but tomorrow they might be completely drive-through, takeout, and online ordering, and some side of third-party delivery. So is that a restaurant if you're not dining in, or if your percentage of sales is so low on dine-in that your capacity or your change of how you're running your operation is quite different than what it was just a few years ago? A lot of arguments there, but if you look at the 5 years to recover, we do think that we are going to see food away from the restaurants increase, could be as high as 68 to 73% by 2026. If that does occur, the landscape of the restaurant industry has been permanently changed, and we will be in a new era of how operators are actually running their businesses. And I'm going to be doing a breakdown. If you haven't heard of Mr. Beast, go check it out online, and what they've been doing. Just search some news. We'll have a video that I'm going to be doing that is going to analyze what Mr. Beast has done, which is all virtual. It's a virtual brand, which is based off of a YouTuber that essentially took his brand, parlayed it into essentially a QSR chain, and basically ramped it up. I think that's going to be very interesting to watch as we see, and which gets back into the whole ghost kitchen growth phenomenon. If you look at the market drivers here and where and what has happened, and this goes and reaffirms what's happening with Uber. Uber ride-sharing occasions, 2019, 5.6 per month, 2020, dropping to 2.9, hence what you see here from ZDNet, basically saying Uber's future is more about Uber Eats than ride-sharing, and this is probably going to happen. Uber Eats occasions in 2019, 1.2 per month, up in 2020 to 3.8, almost triple, a little over triple. And then this year in 2021, we think that's going to skyrocket again at 5.1. But we think that direct takeout is going to take off even more so. Now, this data is based on Uber users, not traditional consumers that are, just frequenting restaurants. So their market base is considerably smaller than the overall marketplace for restaurant consumers. But it does show a timeline of where Uber is a big challenge because they're creating habits within their large database of riders. And it's going to be interesting to watch if they continue down this track in terms of food delivery. Now, we're going to jump to first-party delivery estimates. Last mile logistics are essentially going to be very important on how the restaurant industry is able to achieve these kinds of numbers. If you just look at the potential here of a last mile logistics company, meaning someone's going to create a model, whether it's a robo delivery or an Uber or another party that starts to create a model where last mile logistics is a real thing, and it can really help a restaurant operator. If you look at 2022 as the launch year, next year, and let's say 360,000 restaurants enrolled at this on about a average of about 130 occasions per day. You're talking about total food occasions around 16 billion. Now, 45% of that is delivery or food away from the restaurant. Now you're up in the 7.5 billion delivery orders that it would take to be able to manage that kind of demand on the system on a last, the last mile logistics scenario. Jump that in the next year to 510,000. You can see the math start to really move. We go to 25 billion. 48% most likely will grow. We'll see 12 billion orders being delivered, 625,000 at 142 occasions per day, jumping to 48% and a half, going up to around 15 billion. Moving on out to 2026, where the industry is pretty much saturated at the point of these companies utilizing delivery and or third party or food away from the restaurant. And if we see that 53.6%, we are at 25 billion delivery orders. Now, that is a ton of delivery orders. So if you just kind of reverse engineer that, this is where it takes that transaction that was happening at 360,000 restaurants, average delivery order, you jump that up to $26.80. Now you can see your total delivery revenue at 203 billion. That's about 20%. What we think by 2022 maybe is going to be around 30%, actually more like 30% of the market in terms of overall revenue. Total market cap, though, is 875 million, which we think is where the market will be. That's meaning all orders, not just what you're delivering. So that puts you in the opportunity for someone to offer this kind of service. At a fee of 10%, this company is going to be doing about 20 billion a year. At 12%, they'd go to 24 billion, and that's just with the 360,000 restaurants that would be active. And of course, all these trends moving in that direction. So you can kind of see the math and what it would take to get this done. The challenge here I see is to get down to last mile logistics is the fleet that is going to be needed to be able to handle this. There's only a handful of companies that could accommodate this. Uber, obviously, they've done it because of their driver network, but the cost is too high. And whether or not they can jump to this model or move away from the larger percentage and maybe look at a different business model altogether is still a very big if. So that means it does create an opportunity for probably a ton of companies, especially in the EV space, which we've been tracking heavily. We even launched a new show called TechPath that really gets into this. And it applies to a lot of what's happening in EV because it has such an impact on the restaurant industry and where that delivery model is going to be going. So you're going to need 658,000 EVs or potential delivery vehicles out there just to manage this kind of demand on the system, jumping up to almost 2 million vehicles by 2026 just to handle delivery or third party or food away from restaurants. This is massive. You're also dealing with about, even at 10%, you're also dealing with a $76 billion top line revenue number, which is another behemoth in the industry. So this is a big deal. It is one of those things that I think is going to happen. It is one of my future predictions that I talk about a lot on the Barron Report. If you have not subscribed, make sure you do that. My last slide here is market impacts and obstacles, and I'm going to run down these quickly. But if you look at where third-party delivery is right now, we think it's going to decline and slow virtual brand development with ghost kitchens and prevailing for first-party delivery. And what I mean by that is, as third-party declines and first-party delivery or direct takeout lifts, the digital brand opportunity or virtual brand could be a problem without a physical location. So physical locations are going to be required, and or virtual brands who are dropping into physical locations. That's another opportunity because that is going to be needed, especially with if you have a direct-to-takeout model or a first-party delivery model. So that's a big deal. We do think that third-party delivery is going to drop. Last mile logistics also will become the biggest technology challenge of our time. This is something that, as you can see, with the demand on the system, everybody's scrambling right now. Technology providers, players, everybody is trying to figure out this, what could be $1 trillion question at some point down the road for the industry. Obstacles, early stage, or we don't do it now. And that is ramping up new location formats. We're in early stage. Digital forward brand development, we're in early stage. A handful of brands are actually doing this. Advanced digital workflows, fairly early stage. Not as many companies really doing full advanced digital workflows yet because the technology is so new. And what I mean by that is being able to take from online logistics, mapping, chain supply, supply chain, moving all of that downstream into where it really makes sense in your operations to reduce your costs, enhance your productivity, and be able to provide, excellent service and deliver a great product. That is just now starting to move in, and I think there's a lot of companies that are really going to kind of go into that. The other thing is CRM conversion funnels. There's a lot of people that talk about this, but I don't know many that have actually solved this problem as it relates to this new development in the industry and how it's moving so quickly, meaning of the shift of digital, online, and mobile ordering. And then, of course, first-party delivery logistics, last mile. This one is going to be a monster, and I do think this is probably the biggest opportunity in the industry right now. Last is new demo-specific technology categories. What I mean by that is we're going to see technology start to shift and get very unique and differentiated by the demographic shift. So because we have these two massive markets, meaning millennials now in their getting into their prime spending years, boomers who still have a lot of excess cash but might be in retirement, and there's some big opportunities there for that. But we have a technology divide that's occurring in our society, and that is something that is going to have to be solved to take true advantage of it in the restaurant space. All right. Hopefully this has been a good session for you. Make sure and stay tuned right here for more sessions on Fast Casual Global. If you want to reach me, hit me up on Twitter at Paul Barron. And you can always subscribe to my podcast, The Barron Report. Make sure and hit it. You can find it anywhere, iTunes, Spotify. We'll catch you soon right here on Fast Casual Global.